Then, because this quality term life insurance is sold in amounts of at least $100,000 or more, you get the advantage of volume discounts. And it's easy to do business with Garden State Life Insurance because you deal with us directly. You're always just a phone call away. So call today, 800-257-1257, toll free, 257-1257 for your free personal coverage proposal. No obligation, no pressure. Discover how this quality term life insurance could save you as much as 50% off your premiums every year for the rest of your life. 800-257-1257, toll free. Call Garden State Life Insurance for your free information today, 257-1257.
This is CNN.
Children and smoking. Do cigarette vending machines aggravate the problem? Some people think so. They want the machines outlawed. Mark Green is New York City's Consumer Affairs Commissioner, and he'll be joining us to talk about kids and smoking. Mark, is it an impossible dream to try to stop kids from starting?
Well, it's impossible for government to stop kids from starting, like it's impossible for government to stop unsafe sex. But government can make it less likely kids will ingest this time bomb called cancer by banning cigarette vending machines, as New York City is starting to do this month.
Mark Green will be back with us to talk about smoking and kids a little later, and we'll have the latest news for this Monday, February 10th.
This is Day Watch with Bob Cain and Donna Kelly. News for the conscientious consumer.
Good morning. Donna Kelly is off today. The Dow Corning Company is answering the question, what did it know and when did it know it? Documents released today by Dow Corning indicate the company knew more than 20 years ago that its silicone gel breast implants could leak and could cause medical problems. Dow Corning made the internal documents public under orders from the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA recently called for a voluntary moratorium on the use of the silicone implants. Dow Corning responded by voluntarily pulling them off the market. Jury selection begins today in the trial of a Virginia doctor accused of inseminating his patients with his own sperm. Dr. Cecil Jacobson is accused of 47 counts of fraud and 6 counts of perjury. The defense says Jacobson had patient permission to use his own sperm. The author who inspired millions of people to search out their ancestry, Alex Haley, died early this morning at a hospital in Seattle. No official cause of death has been given yet. The medical examiner's investigator says it appears Haley had a heart attack. The writer lived in Tennessee. He was in Washington State for a speaking engagement. Alex Haley is best known for his novel Roots, which was turned into television's most watched miniseries. He won the Pulitzer Prize for that part fact, part fiction saga of his family, from its roots in Africa to its stay in the United States. CNN talked with Bill Howard and his wife a while back about their struggle to live with the shaky U.S. economy. Well, now, after being laid off a year and working odd jobs, Bill Howard is back at work. But as CNN correspondent John Holloman reports, the Howards still worry about the future.
Bill Howard is up early, getting ready for a long day's work at a construction site in Northern Virginia. It's his first full-time job in over a year. Bill doesn't mind the hard work, but he needs an extra pair of socks because of the cold weather. For the Howards, it's the start of a new life.
It's a relief. I can just get up in the morning, go to work. I know that I'm going to have a paycheck that'll clear the bank.
I get nervous at checkout. I'm just like, what is it this time?
When the Howards first appeared on CNN, they told us they wanted Americans to understand that people willing to work hard have trouble living with the economy. They say America responded.
I received a letter from someone from Beverly Hills, California. And this gentleman told me not to lose faith. And he also told me that my children will not forget what has happened and that they will be better people for this.
You know, one letter said that they just saw us on the news 10 minutes ago, and they just felt they had to sit down and write a letter, do something. You know, it renews faith.
Despite that faith, the Howards are not convinced they're out of the woods.
1984.
They still worry about their children's future. With son Travis in school,
Try that one again. Mud.
Deborah takes 3-year-old Kyle to a grocery store. No need to get food from the community food bank anymore, though Deborah still looks for bargains.
There are just so many bills to date that it's very hard for me to sit down and say, well, I paid this much on this and this much on this. Just basic utilities, food. It's going to be a long haul. I'm 3 months behind on all my utilities.
The Howards blame politicians for ignoring their needs for too long. They say President Bush's State of the Union speech did little to change their minds.
He said, we won the Cold War. You know, it's worry about us now. Worry about us.
He's not being realistic. He's out of touch. Totally out of touch. Our congressmen are out of touch. Our senators are out of touch. Our governors are out of touch. You know, it's like they reach a political office and suddenly their heads are so high above the clouds they can't see.
The Howards are talking about buying their first house, a major step for a family which had to move to avoid eviction less than a year ago. John Holloman, CNN, with the Howard family in Central Virginia.
Prices at the gasoline pumps are at their lowest level in a year, and one industry analyst says they may have hit bottom now. Analyst Trilby Lundberg says there has been a recent upturn in wholesale crude oil prices. Last week, the average price of a gallon of gasoline was $1.17 a gallon. Some automobile dealers are hoping to polish up the image of their sales staffs. Starting in April, the National Automobile Dealers Association will offer an optional certification program. It is to include a one-day course on ethical and legal practices with optional one-day courses on sales techniques and consumer psychology. Officials of the organization say they'll review customer complaints and then decide whether to issue warnings to salespeople or suspend or revoke their certification. Iowa holds its caucuses tonight, but one presidential hopeful has the race virtually all to himself, Tom Harkin. He's expected to win big in his home state. He was the only presidential candidate to show up in Iowa yesterday. His four major rivals are turning their attention on the nation's first primary in New Hampshire. But Harkin is campaigning hard at home. He's hoping a good showing will give him a boost in New Hampshire. That pivotal primary in New Hampshire is just 8 days away now. Democratic candidates are switching into high gear. Paul Tsongas making big inroads into Governor Bill Clinton's once comfortable lead. New polls show those two candidates in a statistical dead heat. The latest CNN USA Today Gallup tracking poll shows 31% of Democrats prefer Clinton, 28% favor Tsongas. A 3-point, statistically not very significant difference, well within the margin of error. 4 days ago, the gap was 13 points in Clinton's favor. With Clinton's earlier lead evaporating, the primary could be now up for grabs. Republican presidential candidate Patrick Buchanan says he has a chance at a tremendous upset, his words, in New Hampshire. Buchanan says he's gaining on President Bush in that state. But a poll released yesterday by a newspaper and TV station in Boston shows Buchanan trailing Mr. Bush by 2-1 among Republican voters in New Hampshire. Day Watch will be back in a moment with a look at kids and smoking. Our regular Monday morning guest, New York's Consumer Affairs Commissioner Mark Green, will tell us his concerns about children's seemingly easy access to cigarettes. Stay with us.
For years, I never even thought about it. Guess I just didn't want to face things. Yeah, I've been there. But now, my parents, they need real help. It's going to be tight. We'll just have to manage somehow.
Use your credit card. This is CNN.
Tracing the roots of a Pulitzer Prize-winning career, the life and times of author Alex Haley.
Wrapping up the rape trial of boxer Mike Tyson, both sides give their closing arguments. Welcome to NewsHour from CNN Center in Atlanta. I'm Bobbie Battista.
And in Washington, I'm Reid Collins. Dow Corning knew of problems with its silicone breast implants more than 20 years ago, or certainly could have. Company documents released today under government pressure include a 1971 internal memo. It describes a leak from an implant that had caused breast irritation in a patient in New Orleans. Dow says silicon leaks can be problematic but are not linked to cancer or immune system diseases, as some lawsuits have charged. Last month it was, the Food and Drug Administration asked for a voluntary ban on the implants while it conducts further safety reviews. His Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Roots, became a television miniseries that drew 130 million viewers. At the time, that was the biggest audience in television's history. Alex Haley's sudden death today robs the world of his talent but leaves a treasured legacy. Roots combined fact and fiction and wove a tapestry of Haley's family history in West Africa, then in the United States. It inspired people, in fact, of all races to trace their own roots. In one of his last interviews, Haley offered a candid opinion to CNN.
Most authors, if you ask most authors, they may tell you Shakespeare, but most authors' favorite author is themselves. That's the truth.
CNN Newsroom spoke with Haley just over a week ago. This was one of his last interviews. A local medical examiner in Seattle says the author apparently died of a heart attack. He was 70. Haley went into the Seattle hospital late last night. He was in the Washington area for a speaking engagement.
Iowa, a political field of dreams for favorite son Tom Harkin. About the only question concerning the outcome of the nation's first presidential caucus is, if you hold it, will they come? CNN national political correspondent Gene Randall joins us now from Des Moines with a preview of tonight's caucus. Gene?
Bobbie, 4 years ago on caucus night, this was the place to be, if you could get a hotel room. How times have changed. No problem getting a room in Des Moines this year. 4 years ago, even Iowa's pigs snapped up some of the glow of the presidential campaigns. Candidates posed with them. No such luck this time around, fellas. That's because Iowa's favorite son, Senator Tom Harkin, should sweep his way through the Democratic caucuses tonight. Though even today, Harkin was continuing his Iowa campaigning. This followed a busy weekend schedule of caucus Eve events.
We need a good showing Monday night, and I need you to go to those caucuses to give us the kind of boost that we need to go on to New Hampshire.
On the Republican side, President Bush's people have removed any chance he'll be challenged. The Iowa GOP has canceled its caucus straw vote. In short, Iowa's political spotlight has turned into a flashlight.
We don't have any reporters here with the exception of you three.
Well, not quite, but you get the idea. Of course, the Iowa caucus has lost a lot of their glitter 4 years ago. Just ask the winners, Republican Senator Bob Dole and House Democratic leader Richard Gephardt. The eventual nominees, George Bush and Michael Dukakis, both finished third. But this year in Iowa, the bottom fell out. For Democrats, Tom Harkin's entry into the race for president shut the place down.
Tom Harkin's going to win lion's share of delegates on Monday night's caucus. Second place will probably be undecided, simply because no other campaign has actually put together a real effort in Iowa.
A Paul Tsongas campaign aide in Iowa probably spoke for the rest of the Democratic field. What are your expectations here, we ask?
We really have none.
But how about the expectations game? Tom Harkin over the weekend saw a poll that showed him losing strength among likely Democratic caucus goers, from 68 to 54%. And Harkin has said he needs to do better than any Democrat has ever done in the caucuses. President Jimmy Carter got 59% in 1980. And Harkin is urging his supporters to turn out.
I need you to go out, not by yourself. List 5 people you know, get their phone numbers, call them up.
Though polls have begun to show Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton and Paul Tsongas virtually tied, Harkin in Iowa has been aiming at Clinton.
I think that there's just continuing questions being raised about his veracity and about his character, and just one thing after another. And I think that it's going to cause him a lot of problems.
But a baseline question for the Harkin campaign. How does a favorite son make much of a home state victory?
It won't be a springboard for probably anyone, except it will at least send a message to folks that people in Iowa support Harkin's bid, but no kind of springboard like it's been in the past.
Running badly in the polls in New Hampshire, Harkin clearly needs something out of Iowa. If not a springboard, something. 120,000 Democrats took part in Iowa's precinct caucuses in 1988. There are predictions a quarter of that number will take part this year. Tom Harkin, by the way, returns to New Hampshire tomorrow morning. His critical aim there, finishing no worse than third in next week's crucial New Hampshire presidential primary. Failing that, there is a feeling even in Harkin's campaign that his presidential bid would be over. Gene Randall, CNN, Des Moines.
Gene, thanks. Well, Harkin may be running away with Iowa, but that New Hampshire primary a week from tomorrow is turning into a real horse race. A new poll shows Paul Tsongas closing in on frontrunner Bill Clinton. The CNN USA Today tracking poll shows a steady erosion of support for Clinton over the past 5 days, compared to a steady gain for Tsongas. Clinton now holds only a slim lead over Tsongas. Bob Kerrey of Nebraska trails with 13%. Jerry Brown of California and Tom Harkin round out the pack. 10% say they are undecided. The margin of error is plus or minus 5%. Over on the Republican side, President Bush enjoys a comfortable lead over conservative Patrick Buchanan. The margin of error for this poll, plus or minus 9%.
And just ahead on NewsHour, the lawyers sum up their sides in the rape trial of the former boxing champ Mike Tyson, and public debate over private matters, teenage pregnancy, and abortion in today's People's Agenda report.
That Michael? Yeah. Starts college next year. Those lines. What Mike told me.